Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to my show. I'm Sean David. Let's talk some old school NBA. You know, there's nothing worse than receiving text messages that some of your favorite players have passed away. And this is exactly what happened yesterday, again for the second time this year. So I thought, okay, I want to have a sort of a tribute video, not being sad about the players that we have lost, but actually celebrating what they have accomplished. So in this video, I want to take a look at 10 of the players that I really enjoyed and their accomplishments, players that we have lost too soon. But before we start with this episode, I want to give a quick shout out to my Patreons. Thanks a lot, you guys, for supporting my show. It's really appreciated. And I would say, let's dive right into today's episode.
Been a rough year. You know, Craig's our boss. Played against Cliff a lot. Lou Olson was my neighbor in Arizona. Saw him a lot. Great guy. Last time I talked to him, he was getting advice on what kind of dog to get.
Thought it was a bad dream.
But he ever has a sense of love for him and the way that he can bring out the best in you. And he did that for me.
Man, when somebody dies in the NBA, it's like part of our family. So the Robinson family and the Olsen family, the Berry family and the Boswick family, man, just thank you for sharing those people with us.
I told my wife I wasn't going to do this because I didn't want to see that for the next 3 or 4 years.
Teammate was the best teammate you can have. He would run through the walls for you.
The Charlotte Hornets select Kobe Bryant from Lower Merion High School in Pennsylvania.
As I said, things take a negative and turn it into a positive. Your life is, you have so much that you try to live for, and one day it can be shortened and taken away from you.
Now, the first player that I want to take a look at is Clifford Robinson. Not only a player that was very popular because of his headbands, but also a player that was very, I don't want to say unique, but a player that was very rare back in the 1980s and the early 1990s. Because he was a tall player who could not only step out and shoot the three, but he could also handle the ball, and he was a nightmare mismatch for many of the bigs back in the days.
Cliff and Derek Coleman were some of the toughest guys I had to play against. The reason why, because they played 5, but on offense they played the 4. So I'd have to go out and guard them. So I can remember Cliff saying, "Shaq, I know you're gonna score on me, but now you gotta bring your big ass out to the 3-point line." So, he was
Teams are
wonderful.
into winning and the results show.
Robinson hits the 3. Cliff Robinson with 25.
And the next player on my list is Anthony Mason. And with Anthony Mason, I really got to say, he was a player that I really loved. He was basically a point guard trapped in the body of a power forward. A player that could handle the ball even though he was very tall. But the thing that I really loved the most about Anthony Mason was his great defense and that he was really physically tough.
He's become such a fan favorite here in New York with his high-octane game.
One of the most beloved Knicks in franchise history.
Well, Mace was obviously a tough player, mentally, physically. He could do a lot of things out there on the court. A guy his size, 6'7", can handle the basketball, play the point guard position.
Anthony Mason of the New York Knicks was named winner of the 1994-95 NBA Sixth Man Award.
For all the young kids coming up, that's my little motto too, to never give up. If you want to be something, keep striving for it, no matter how long it takes.
Next on my list I have Kevin Duckworth. If you don't remember Kevin Duckworth, he was not an NBA superstar or a star player by any means, but he was very, very good in the post. But what I liked the most about him, he had this, what we used to call the baby hook, a move that is, basically died out and extinct in today's NBA, but I wanted to make sure that I give some love to Kevin Duckworth. And the next player on my list is Moses Malone. And with Moses Malone, I can easily say that he's in my top 5 bigs of all time. I feel that he's actually underappreciated because he was not only one of the best rebounders of all time, but also a guy who could drop 30 points easily. If we talk to Charles Barkley, he will easily say that Moses Malone was one of the best teammates he had ever played, and also a guy who helped Charles to become the great player that he actually was.
3 times it's good.
I love the rebound. I love the offensive rebound because I think you put more pressure on another team when you offensive rebound. That's another easy way to score.
That's the way they're made up. Ivaroni misses outside, tipped in by Moses Malone.
Toward the baseline, fires the jumper, and no good. The rebound, Malone back up good, and he's fouled.
No good, following tap, no good. Malone, finally, this will be the 5th foul. And he's averaging almost 16 rebounds a game. He's the best offensive rebounder I've ever seen.
And the next player on my list is Kobe Bryant. Again, a player who really died too soon. But when we talk about Kobe, there's a lot to celebrate about. Not only is he one of the best players of all time, in my top 10 to be honest, but if we talk about Michael Jordan of the 80s and 90s, Kobe Bryant was the Michael Jordan of the 2000s.
Kobe Bryant was just, he was a different player. I mean, obviously, people talk a lot about Michael Jordan. I didn't get a chance to kind of cross those lines playing against Michael, but I played against this young man, and he torched me. He really did torch me.
You were at different stages of your career as well. I'm just going to throw that in there. I know you're too modest to say that.
And the next player on my list is Wayman Tisdale. Again, a player where I'm pretty certain that not too many remember him, but he was not only an incredible scorer, but also a very powerful player that used to play with his back to the basket, and a player that Michael Jordan really had a lot of respect for.
Going back, when was the first time you remember hearing about this guy named Wayman Tisdale from Oklahoma?
McDonald's All-Americans, I think, and had a chance to play against each other in a couple of games. Sports Festival in Syracuse, I think was the first time I actually saw him play. And then Olympic trials, and then in '84 we were teammates in the Olympics.
What was your general impression of this game? Left-handed guy.
Left-handed guy, post-up player, very strong, heck of a scorer, good rebounder, great rebounder actually. Fun-loving guy, always smiled. Seemed to get along with everybody. Wasn't a person that didn't like Wayman Tisdale. And his game was probably innovative in the sense that he played very well with his back to the basket, very tough to defend, very quick release, and had a lot of ways of scoring. So. Which made him probably one of the best college players to play the game.
Tell me about the 1984 Olympic Games.
Tisdale was one of those situations where he came in with the reputation of being a heck of a scorer and a good rebounder. And Coach Knight tried to expand his game, if you want to say. He tried to fit each one of our players into certain roles. And Raymond's role on that team was kind of different than what he had in Oklahoma, where he was predominantly the big scorer. Ball went through him. Coach Knight wanted him to set more screens, be more of a rebounder, defensive threat, which is kind of an expansion of what Raymond was doing at that time. But I think it expanded his all-around game. And Coach Knight was pretty tough on him in terms of being able to expand his game. But he was such a good talent, you could not have him on the basketball floor.
And the next 3 players on my list are actually 3 players that I really loved back in the days. Players that I idolized for so many years and where I'm so sad that they passed away. But again, players where we can really celebrate their accomplishments. I'm talking about Daryl Dawkins, aka Chocolate Thunder, Pistol Pete Maravich, and Manute Bol. And the last player on my list, again, a Portland Trailblazers, unfortunately, but a player, again, who helped the Portland Trailblazers to become a powerhouse in the Western Conference.